Greetings and salutations. This is HUGH JARSZ. Again, coming from a very wet Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. I think I'll be swimming to work in the morning. We just had a thunderstorm come through. And our dam was at 59% on Wednesday. Now it's at 160. It's been quite a fair bit of rain. 8 inches in the old money, 200 millimetres. So we're having fun here in Brisbane. And I'm hoping that the thunderstorm doesn't kill my power and that'll kill the broadcast. But anyway, while we got power, I've got a very special guest. I've got Blue Marble Science, otherwise known as Big Blue. Welcome to the show, Blue.
Hey, good morning, Hugh. How you doing?
It's good morning for you. It's 9 p.m. for me, so we're on the other side of the earth from each other.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. I'm on the wrong. You guys are on the good side. I'm on the wrong side, I think.
Well, we're in the dark side right now, but
it's cold up here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's the sides from north to south rather than east to west.
Yeah.
So I invited Blue on because he did an excellent video about Lake Pontchartrain, which is a flat earth killer. And he went through and explained how Soundly and Walter Bislin, Walter Bislin had a hand in it, and Jesse Koslowski basically collected all the data you'd possibly need to prove that Lake Pontchartrain not proves because we don't prove things in science, but gives conclusive evidence and confirms that the Earth is a sphere. And so we want to go through that video this time. But we might start by saying hi to people in the chat, and hello to Monkey in the Works, the first member I've seen. So tonight anyway. Welcome, Clive Wells, Dr. Clive Wells. Good to see you. Torna Gorn, I think you've come and gone, seeing it's late in New Zealand. And yes, they're getting busy in New Zealand now with the COVID there now. John Rapp, it's always good to see John Rapp, as long as we don't make him a moderator. And the Snark. Well, we know the story of John Rapp. If people don't know the story, ask for it, and I'm sure John will tell you. And the Snark always writes wonderful songs. I'm waiting for a HUGH JARSZ song, but we'll see. Fred Bailey, I had a little chat with you earlier. Hello, Fred. Who else have we got in here? Scroll down. Is it all the same people? Daryl M, another member. Hello. And Andy Sibley. I haven't seen you for a while. Hello. Two members there to join Monkey in the Works. They're showing corgis even. How about that? Good on you. Members, show your corgis every time. Thank you very much. All right. So what I thought it might do, Blue, is I'll play your video. I got timestamps. Hang on, I've lost my timestamps now. Where are they? All right. Yes. The first thing I want to do is compare something you do and something I do, and we'll get the chat to vote on it. So I'm going to play your version of it first. I better share the screen. Share screen. Share audio. This StreamYard is very complex. Here we go. All right. So this is Blue's warning.
Monitor damage alert is in effect. Get out those oven mitts. Push the monitors back out of punching range. And let's light this dumpster fire and have some fun. So let's get into it. This is Lake Pontchartrain.
I've lost the pause button. Where's it gone? There we go. All right. So that's Blue's. Let's stop sharing and let's play my warning. Headphone warning in 3, 2, 1. Severe facepalm warning is in effect. Oven mitts mandatory from this point forward. You are at risk of pummeling yourself to death with facepalm. Well, there you go, folks. Blue's warning and my warning. Vote Blue or vote Hugh in the chat.
Oh, I'm voting for Hugh myself. I'll tell you right now. He's got me beat.
Oh, yes, but I'm inspired by you. No matter what, you originated this. It's awesome.
That's been fun. I've had fun with that. I tried leaving it out a few times, and people complain when I do. So I guess I'm stuck with it.
Just like hearing your voice. Well, I got a few Hughes. None for Blue? Come on. Blue started this idea. Both good. There we go. Clive Wells sitting on the fence. Never say he wasn't decisive. All right, then. Let's get on with your video. You start off with a really good introduction as to what Lake Pontchartrain is. So let's go through that.
From Google Earth. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Lake Pontchartrain, it's a rather large lake, and it's situated just north of the city of New Orleans, Louisiana. Lake Pontchartrain is unique in one respect, and that is it has a causeway crossing it. That causeway is 24 miles, or about 38.6 kilometers in length. That makes it the longest bridge in the world over water continuously. But
can I just pause out there? So, Blue, can you tell me, is this New Orleans down here?
Yeah, on the south end. That's
right,
the new.
so
that's the
it's
New
really
Orleans
close.
one. Oh yeah. You're from the center of downtown. I don't know. We could pull up Google Earth and find out, but it can't be more than a few miles away.
Right.
From that end of it.
So I've never been there, so I don't have it in my head. So it's interesting to learn that sort of thing, and I'm sure other people haven't been there either, and they'd like to learn. And technically, this water is the Mississippi River, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all tied to the river.
Yeah,
and there on the right, there's actually the interstate highway. Yeah, that's it there.
Yeah,
that's actually the interstate, but the causeway's been there. I think they built the first lane of it, or it's a 2-lane wide thing. I think they built the first bridge in 1950, early 1950s, something like that. And then later, I think in the early 60s, they added the second lane. But it is, in fact, the longest bridge in the world continuously over water. They've got aggregate classification where it runs partly over water and then sometimes a bit over land and so forth. And there are a couple of bridges that are a lot longer than that one, but they're in China or something. But there's nothing out there. That is nothing but lake. It's not a deep lake. It's only about 15 feet deep. But it's a lake nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. And it's part of flood mitigation, I imagine, or is it a natural lake?
It's a natural lake.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as I know, it's a natural lake. I've never heard anything to the contrary.
Yeah, you wouldn't sort of build causeways if it wasn't natural. You'd sort of build a what did he call those? Promontory or something.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, Terry Davis is here. Hey, Terry. And Judy Bassett, a member for 7 months.
Hello, Terry Davis.
Not sure what you posted, but thank you for that. I presume that's your free members super chat. But if you didn't seem to say anything, but if you want to say anything, just tag me and I'll read it out later.
See Judy Bassett out there too. Good morning, Judy.
Yep. Judy's a great supporter of many people in our community. She's a wonderful supporter.
Yeah, she is.
So let's continue with your video.
It's absolutely straight, and that makes it one of the best places on the planet to be able to actually see the curvature of the earth. Here's a picture of the causeway. That's taken from about the 15th story of a hotel on the south shore of the lake. You'll notice a couple of large marine spans where the elevation of the causeway rises up considerably to allow boat traffic underneath. They look extreme in this photograph because you're looking down the length of the causeway with a very long telephoto lens. And what happens is a visual effect that's called foreshortening. If you're up on top of that causeway, at the top of one of those marine spans, the view looks like this. So it's not nearly as extreme as that photograph shows. That view would be from a point about where the arrow is.
So I just want to show a couple of pictures because I looked them up. So that's sort of a better view without the telephoto lens. You're a bit closer in and you can see, it isn't that high. And there was this one too. You can see it's
that's the main,
reasonable hike. Yeah,
yep.
And that allow the boats come in here.
Yeah, there are two of those, like the one you're showing now, that are the taller marine spans, and then there are a number. I think the first one is one of those smaller ones. The first picture you showed, there are a number of them scattered around, but there are two of those big ones like that one that's on the screen now.
and that's to allow the marine traffic through. But in this photo, in fact, I'll make it big. It looks like it's really steep. That's simply because it's spread out over a long distance, and you're sort of looking at it almost end on, so it sort of gets compressed by perspective, really.
Right.
And it looks like it's a big, like you're about to do a Duke of Hazzard jump over it or something, but it's just the compression of the image from that angle. That's all. Yeah,
Soundly's got some video when you can watch the automobile traffic and truck traffic, and then when you see cars coming down the thing, you realize, boy, that's a long way, because it takes them forever, to come down the side of it there. Looks rather strange, but it gives you a better feel for it. But yeah, when you look at it like this, it looks like they're straight up and down.
It's weird, but it's just a trick of the light, really. Perspective. Anyway, I'll let you continue on. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. I'll let the video continue.
But flat earthers take a look at this, and they'll immediately begin with denial. They'll tell you it's refraction or it's perspective. They'll tell you it's being caused by some unknown optical effect nobody's ever heard of. Frankly, anybody that could see a moose in the road at a distance of 50 feet doesn't have any trouble seeing the curvature in that causeway. But for some reason, flat earthers do, and I think I know why. So now, let me introduce you to the two guys that originally did this work. That's Soundly on the left, and that's Jesse Kozlowski on the right. Soundly is a YouTuber, and he's probably made more video and photographs of the Pontchartrain Causeway than anybody on the planet. Jesse, meanwhile, is a professional land surveyor. Several years ago, Jesse took his GPS equipment down to New Orleans. He mounted it in his car, mounted the GPS receiver antenna on top of the car, and then drove across the causeway taking position measurements about every 10 meters. This is a GPS antenna.
Yeah, just want to, is Soundly still active?
I haven't seen anything out of Soundly in quite a while. And Jesse doesn't do very much anymore either. I think both of them had the good sense to get out of this nonsense.
Yes, I understand that.
There's only so many times that you can say, no, here's how it really works. And before, you get to the point of just saying, oh, the hell with it. Had enough of these guys.
Well, the way you deal with that is realize that it's really funny.
Yeah, that's the only thing that keeps me in it now.
Yeah,
I thought initially that I was going to help people out, Yeah. I thought I would be able to change some minds and things like that. Of course, you can't do that. It just doesn't happen. So now all it is for me is a way to amuse myself. I like to point at them and laugh at them and stuff. So.
But you are helping people. You're not helping the people, the flat earthers you're aiming this at. But anyone who watches them and also watches us, they'll get to compare both sides of the story. And I think it's important to have it out there. If it was just all flat Earth, flat Earth would be mainstream and the society would be crumbling. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so you're about to go through the setup Jesse had. I think it's worthwhile having a look at that just to sort of get it in your mind before we get into all the data analysis, and there's quite a bit of that. But so let's have a look at that.
I'm mounted on the top of Jesse's vehicle. It's about 1.5 meters above the road surface. And there is the GPS receiver. You can see there's the height of the antenna, 1.53 meters. The distance of 10 meters is what he has selected to take his waypoints. And you see the accuracy down here. The horizontal accuracy at the moment I took this screenshot was 9 millimeters, and the vertical accuracy was 15 millimeters. That's amazingly precise compared to the accuracy we get with GPS in our telephones. But that's because Jesse is receiving constant corrections from a base station at Louisiana State University. While he was doing that, Soundly was up in the 15th floor of the Marriott Hotel there on the South Shore, videoing the causeway while Jesse was doing the measurements. Now, before we get into the actual measurements, let's take a minute and talk about GPS, because that's what Jesse was using. Not the kind of GPS you and I have in our telephones, the kind of GPS that professional surveyors use.
Well, should we go through this? It's sort of a bit involved.
It is, and I'll leave it up to you, Hugh, whatever you think. But
Yeah, I think we might jump to 7:20, 7:58. So, I mean, most people, I think, watching understand that GPS is a thing, and
right.
you can. It can be used for this sort of work. And given Jesse is a professional surveyor, he knows how to use it properly. So,
Well, and if I could, I'll just just for the just for information, anybody that's interested, the system Jesse has is a Trimble TSC3. That's the GPS receiver, and he was using a what the heck is it? There's a mobile or handheld data logging system. TSC3 is it, I think. Yeah, the model R10 is what the GPS is. I'm reading a note from Jesse. Yeah, the GPS receiver is actually an R10, and the TSC3 is the data logger. And he was receiving signals from LSU's remote network. And that's how you get that sort of accuracy. You can't get it with just a handheld device. You've got to have a base station somewhere that's sitting over a known point that's listening to the same satellites your receiver's listening to, that can give you an offset and say, okay, well, at the moment, the satellites are this far out of whack, right? It's and it gives you a correction. That's how it's done on job sites, and they have the ability to do that with these remote locations like the one at LSU there. So that's the only point, though. I'll shut up now.
All right, cool. I was just noticing Professor Phil Bell has joined us. Yeah, so we got plenty of PhDs in the chat right now, so people who know what they're talking about. So let's continue with Blue's video.
Listen to this exchange.
Let's say that we got our GPS system and we put it in the XY coordinates and drove over the bridge and got a 5 point something meters all the way across.
Yeah.
Where's the curve come from?
See what I mean? Absolutely clueless.
You measure your coordinates, your XYZ coordinates, not only your elevation.
But Z is the elevation, right?
No, it's just the position.
Yeah,
it's just your position. It's not related to elevation.
It is. The Z is the elevation. That's the vertical datum. It is.
Yes, I know the feeling with the face palm there. Is Bev, I don't know who this Hoymar person he's talking to. Is Hoymar a surveyor or?
No, I don't know what Hoymar's background is, honestly.
Yeah.
I believe he lives in Germany. I've spoken with him and exchanged a few chat things in the chat with him. Seems to be a reasonably knowledgeable fellow.
Certainly knows more than Bev, but that doesn't harm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But he was you could hear that, and Bev is still totally confused about a simple Cartesian coordinate system, an XYZ coordinate system called Earth-centered, Earth-fixed, where you put the origin at the center of mass of the Earth. I mean, it's that simple. Mm-hmm. How much more do you need to know? And from that one point, or from that coordinate system, we could identify the location of every point in the universe, literally, like any other coordinate system. I don't know why it's so confusing for those guys. They can't.
They also don't get elevation either, which is why it confused him, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the raw data that comes from GPS, which is what Jesse was logging, the XYZ data, that's not what we see when we see stuff on our handheld GPS equipment. We see it after the geoid, the ellipsoid and geoid have been applied. You've already taken that all out and found a position, right? But that's post-processing. That happens after you get the raw XYZ data. It's pretty straightforward to convert that stuff. And, you can move it around in any coordinate system you want to. But the important thing to remember is the data that's being logged here is all reference to the Earth-centered, Earth-fixed Cartesian coordinates. And when you do that, now you've got an absolute position in space relative to that point. That's what they miss. They don't get that.
They also don't get the concept of relativity in this sense that everything is relative to the center of the Earth and so on.
Right.
But there's so many things that they don't get. Whenever I hear Bev talk, this is the way I feel.
What, are you retarded? Are you retarded?
I know. Believe me.
Yes, he's a special person, Bev. Yes, he just refused to understand, even though he claims he's a surveyor and he doesn't understand what elevation is. It's just, and then he presumes to tell actual surveyors that they don't know what they're talking about. It's hilarious, isn't it?
It is.
Anyway,
it is absolutely.
It's kind of sad too, because you kind of hope that human beings are better than that, but some of us aren't.
Clearly.
Anyway, let's continue with your video for a bit.
It's just your position along the vertical axis.
Yeah, the vertical datum. Yes, exactly.
So you see the problem. If you have a limited background in mathematics and geometry like this fellow, it won't be necessarily immediately obvious to you that GPS elevation data you're looking at has already considered the height of the ellipsoid and the geoid. You're effectively seeing your elevation above mean sea level. And that elevation data that looks like a z-axis to you is not the z-axis of the Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinate system that GPS is based on. So now let's have a look at how we could use the raw
I'll just
GPS.
stop that. So yeah, Bev was thinking from here up was what the z-axis was, but whereas it's from the center of the Earth up is what the data actually refers to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he just wouldn't understand it. Hang on, let me check my notes for the next bit. So now you're going to go into explaining the GPS and how that works and how that measures the curve. And I think that's worthwhile listening to. I mean, it's all worthwhile listening to, but I don't want to be here all night is the point I'm making. So,
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
XYZ data to reveal the shape of the causeway. This is just the coordinate system. We have an x-axis, a y-axis, and a z-axis. Let's put some points in space. We'll put a point there, and a point there, and a point about midway between them. Now let's draw a line. If the Earth were flat, those 3 points would lie in a straight line. Now we can take that XYZ data and we can calculate the length of the vector to each end of the causeway, and we can get a distance from the origin to the center of the causeway. Now let's toss the Earth back in here. Those 2 outside points are the starting point and ending point of the causeway. That line would be a chord line. The red line is the causeway itself. If the causeway is following the curvature of the Earth, that center point is going to be up here, and we'll be able to see that in the length of that vector, the distance from the center of the Earth to the center of the bridge. Now let's have a look on a flat Earth. We've got the causeway north end on the left, the causeway south end on the right. The green line is mean sea level, in other words, lake level, basically. The red line is the causeway itself, and the GPS elevation is simply the difference between mean sea level and the road surface. We can use the XYZ coordinate data to determine a distance from the origin to the north end of the causeway and a distance from the origin to the south end of the causeway. And we do the same thing for the center. But what if the Earth is spherical? Well, again, we have the north end of the causeway and the south end of it. This time we're showing the geoid. The causeway is still being represented by that red line. And our GPS elevation is simply the height above the geoid. It's still essentially elevation above mean sea level. So now the green line is the chord line, and we can get a distance from the origin to the north end of the causeway, a distance to the south end of the causeway, and on a flat Earth, that point would be in line with the north end and the south end. And our distance from the origin would look like that. But if the Earth has curvature and the causeway has curvature, the point we measure in the center of the causeway will be up there. And now we will have a distance above that chord line, which we call the sagitta. This is how we can reveal the shape of the causeway.
That was incredibly clear. That was really well put, Blue. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I tried to make that as simple as I could, and Bev still doesn't understand it.
No, well, yes, there's lots of things he doesn't understand. I just wanted to point out two more of my members have joined us, Dora and Koo. Hello, Dora. And second best, Bob. He's working and lurking, but that's always good as long as he's lurking. And it's good to see you all here.
Yeah.
And someone said something cool, which I wanted to mention. Oh, yes. John Rapp said they can't understand a bloody great sun setting below the horizon. Think they'll understand geometry?
I think we know the answer to that, John. No, they won't.
So now we're going to get into the deep data bit. So bear with Blue here. It's worthwhile. And it also qualifies that everything that we're talking about is based in reality. These are all measurements that were taken, objective measurements. There's no opinion here at all. It's whatever the machine measured. And
That's
you
right.
draw conclusions based on the data. You don't just figure out what you want it to be and then hope the data fits. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way science works. All right, well, let's play on.
Now, this is a sample of the GPS data that was collected by Jesse. And this is out of the work that Walter Bislin did. I've just taken one small section of data so you can see what it looks like. There's a link to Walter's website right there. And I'll put it in the description too. You can look at the full data set, which contains more than 6,000 points. The point we're looking at here is point number 1660. It's on the northbound lane of the causeway. You'll also see GPS elevation data provided. You might wonder why that's even there. Well, there's a very good reason for that. That causeway has a number of those marine spans. You want to be sure that you're analyzing data that's on the level part of the causeway, not on one of those marine spans. I analyzed 3 points on each side of the causeway, one at the north end, one near the south end, and one somewhere near the middle. I'll just show you where those points were. That's the south end. You see those 2 points. There's the midpoints. And there is the north end. So let's have a look at this. If the Earth is a flat plane, the three vectors V1, V2, and V3 should form a straight line. On the other hand, if the Earth is spherical, the vectors are going to describe an arc with a radius r. Now we have the XYZ data that was collected by Jesse, and calculating the distance from the origin to the data points is very straightforward. It's simply the square root of x squared plus y squared plus z squared. You see those distances displayed there. Now let's put this on an AutoCAD drawing and see what we end up with. This is for the southbound lane, and the north end of the southbound lane is there on the left side. The origin is down here at the bottom where the red arrow is. The causeway itself is way up here at the top. In fact, at this scale, you can't even see it. Notice the dotted green line. That is the AutoCAD vector that I've drawn, and that is telling you that that's the vector I've selected to measure the length. Notice that the length is 6,372,796.257 meters. That matches our calculated distance. We do the same thing at the center and the same thing at the south end. Now let's zoom in at the top and see what that really looks like. The green line is the chord line. That would be the straight line between the north end and the south end of the causeway. The causeway is that white line. That's an arc. The green dot was the GPS XYZ position measured at about the center point of the causeway. And the sagitta is 28.1177 meters. I asked AutoCAD to tell me what the radius of that arc is, and it says 6,342,337 meters. Well, the actual value should be 6,372,817 meters, so that's about 0.5% less. But let me tell you what that actually means. If that GPS position is inaccurate by 1/10 of 1 meter, we would end up right on top of the accepted value for the radius. Let's have a look at what the northbound lane looks like.
I just want to say at 0.5%, that's incredibly accurate by most, numerical analysis standards.
Oh yeah, and Walter Bislin contacted me and said, "Oh, by the way, there's another technique to account for the shape of the geoid at that point, and if you do that, it really wasn't 0.5% off; it was 0.1% off. That's all."
Mm-hmm.
And it'll surprise you that literally moving that point from where it is back toward the center of the Earth by 1/10 of a meter would have fixed the radius and made it almost exactly what we accept, what I used, what I said was the accepted radius. But I was going to say something else too. When I selected those data points, this is interesting. When I selected those data points, I didn't know where they were. I had no idea. They just looked like good spots, on the level part of the bridge. It wasn't until I went back and reduced that XYZ data to latitude and longitude that I figured out where the points actually were. When I wanted to put those points on the Google Earth maps, and it not only can you pinpoint it on the bridge, you can tell what lane he was in. It's amazing. The accuracy is incredible.
It's not only the accuracy of what Jesse did, but it's the accuracy of Google Maps. I didn't realize it was that accurate that you can pick lane.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's continental drift, and that does affect GPS.
Sure.
In 2020, because of the onset of driverless cars, Australia reset all its GPS coordinates. Because Australia is actually moving quite fast as a continent. It's about 5 centimeters a year or something like that, which relative to other continents is quite fast. And of course, it doesn't take long to throw out where a road is on the GPS, only a few years. So we reset it all on 2020. I presume we're going to reset it in a few years' time. But the fact that the Google Earth is accurate enough for Lake Pontchartrain for you to be able to pick a lane, that's amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely amazed me.
Anyway, so that was the northbound analysis. No, it was the southbound analysis. Now we'll do the northbound.
It's like, again, the green line is the chord line and the white line is the arc. And on the northbound lane, based on the points I selected, we have a sagitta of 27.53 meters. Now that's not unexpected because the distance I used between the points on the northbound lane were closer together than the southbound lane. You would expect the sagitta to be less. The length of the arc is less. The radius in this case is very similar to what we saw on the southbound side, actually a little closer, but still about 0.5% off. And this was the data that Jesse presented. His sagitta was 28.457 meters. But he used a distance, an arc length, even longer than my southbound arc length. That's the end of that. That causeway is not flat. And you flat earthers need to stop talking about a hump of water. There's no hump of water. That causeway is following the curvature of the Earth, just like the water underneath it is following the curvature of the Earth.
Yes, I think flirts talk about humps of water because they don't have enough imagination to understand the concept of a very slight curve.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. They like to represent it that way because it sounds ridiculous when you say it.
Yes.
Oh my God, there's a hump of water in front of me. And everybody knows that cannot be true. We're all well aware of that, but they like to do it because of the emotional impact, I think, that it has on people.
It convinces some people who are on the fence and that kind of thing, who don't know better.
Yeah, for God's sake, we're always standing on top of the damn ball. It's it's falling away from us in every direction.
Yep.
No matter where you are.
And gravity holds us at perpendicular to it, so to the surface.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, depending on the surface, I guess. But yeah. And I'm just, the beauty of all this, it was mentioned in the chat that none of the flirts are coming in, the Gary bot's not here and that kind of thing, because we're dealing with scary math. Woo! And if Bev watched this video, he wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about.
Oh, he proved that yesterday. He went through this video yesterday.
Did he?
And he and his crowd proved conclusively exactly how clueless they are. They got every bit of this wrong. Every bit of it.
I suspect that's another video in the works for you then, is it?
Oh, I don't know. I may do a live stream. I don't know.
Oh, that it must be funny, that one. All right.
Maddening is what it is. Absolutely maddening when you see how totally confused they get themselves.
Yeah, because they don't need to be. It's because they're not looking at it from an open mind. They're trying to fit reality to suit their preconceived ideas, instead of saying, okay, reality tells us this is the way reality is, so therefore that's what reality is. That's our approach. So, as you're demonstrating in this video, Jesse went out and got all these data points. They're objective data points. What does it tell us, as you showed in the analysis? It's definitely a curve. It's not a straight line. A straight line doesn't fit. So, that's what reality tells you, guys. You can't just deny it. It doesn't. Reality is reality. It doesn't care what you feel.
Yeah, that's right. And I very intentionally tried made sure I did not try to duplicate the exact points that Jesse had used. I just randomly selected the points myself from that data set, knowing that they were not going to be the same. The odds are, are strongly in favor of them not being the same points.
16,000 points or something like that?
About 6,000. About 6,000.
That's a lot of data.
That was a hell of a lot of data. Yeah, there's 3,200 or something like that per side. A lot of data.
Yeah. So, it's something that flirts never do. If they get data, they only pick the one piece of data that they think suits them and ignore all the other that don't. But anyway.
Right.
We're talking about idiots. So now we're on to the next part of the video where you talk about the Earth's chubbiness. And I must say, I resemble that remark.
Well, I do too. I'm kind of fond of that.
Not quite as much as I do, I think. So let's have a listen to that bit.
But there's something else that's pretty interesting. Now, we know that the Earth is an oblate spheroid. We know that it gets a little bit chubbier as we go toward the equator. That means that the south end of the causeway, that would be vector V1 for us, should actually be a little bit longer than the north end is. That's vector V2. And sure enough, we see that in the data. On the northbound side, I got a difference of 108 meters from the north to the south. And on the southbound lane, I got 109 meters. Again, the distance that I was measuring over is slightly longer on the southbound lane. Well, is that more or less what it should be? Let's find out. Here's an Earth radius by latitude calculator. At the south end, the Earth radius should be 6,372,822 meters. On the north end, it should be 6,372,713 meters. That's a difference of 109 meters.
Just about spot
And
on.
that's exactly what we measured. So now I want to show you some work that Walter Bislin did. Walter took Jesse's GPS data, the raw XYZ data, and generated a CAD drawing of the causeway. Watch what happens when we superimpose a picture of the causeway. That's a pretty remarkable fit, isn't it?
And I'm not sure it's immediately clear what that's saying is that this diagram you're seeing now, that was built on the data that was collected.
Right.
And then you match it to the photograph and it's exactly the same. So the data is actually valid. So all the conclusions we're drawing from the data is also valid.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
It won't get a lot better than that.
No, it won't.
We can do one other interesting thing too, and this was always amusing to me. When flat earthers like Quantum Idiot decided that Google Earth was actually a flat model.
I've just got to stop there. Quantum Idiot. What a great name.
That guy is incorrigible. Man.
It's I'm always worried about calling people idiots because except generically because you know the algorithm and all that sort of thing. But yeah, for you to come out and just say that, and it just fits him, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. The guy's just a walking ad hom. That's all he is.
Yeah.
If he's not
Nasty
calling
piece of
it
work.
names, he doesn't have anything to say. Yeah, very
Exactly.
nasty piece of work.
Yeah, it gives me the impression he was bullied severely as a child, so now he just bullies everyone else.
Yeah, I think so.
Very narcissistic.
Yep.
Okay, let's so Walter Bislin did that bit, Quantum Idiot and Google Earth. This is quite funny.
I couldn't do anything except laugh. I know a lot of you have used Google Earth, and you've probably drawn lines on Google Earth with the measure tool. But there's a feature in there that you may not be aware of. When Google Earth comes up, it comes up with the line you're drawing clamped to the surface of the Earth. But there are alternatives. You can set it so that the line is not clamped to the Earth. It is a reference to absolute altitude or absolute elevation if you choose. So this is what we would see in Google Earth. We would see the geoid. Now we've got a chord line, which we've been talking about, which would be a line from the north point to the south point of that bridge. But if we set the elevation just right above that chord line, we can generate a tangent line. And that way we can see the drop from horizontal. Let me show you a brief clip of me demonstrating that. I wanted to have a look at this thing in Google Earth. This is Lake Pontchartrain. You see it here. This is the north shoreline. That's the south end. I've drawn a line right down the center line of the south lane, the southbound side of the causeway. But it's not just a regular line. I'm using a Google feature that some people don't even know about. If I go to altitude, when Google comes up, it comes up clamped to the ground. Your line will be clamped to the surface of the Earth. I'm not using that. I'm using absolute. And I've got the altitude of the line set at 24 meters. I've also checked the little box that said extend the line down to the ground. Let's see what that's going to do for us. Let's go here somewhere around the middle of the causeway. I'd say it's right about in there somewhere. And we'll just start zooming in at that point. And now you see the southbound lane and the line's running down the middle of it. And now I'm going to tilt it just a little bit so that we can see. that in fact, yeah, the line is right at the surface, isn't it? Yep. Right at the surface. Very nice. Just as it should be, correct? Okay, let's see what it looks like on the end. Let's go down here to this end first. And let's tilt it a little bit. And uh-oh. What happened?
Remember, this is the tangent line.
It's not at the surface anymore, is it? Goodness. See if we can just scoot along. I'm sure we can do.
Yeah, that's a tangent line.
And you see the line getting closer and closer and closer to the surface till it's right on the surface.
Such a clear
Right in
demonstration.
here somewhere.
Yeah.
As we continue down to the south end of the bridge, we have to go further than I thought.
It's a long causeway.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Line's starting to climb again. A little bit more, and there we go, that end. Same thing. It's like the earth is curved, isn't it? You could try this yourself. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. I hope this brief analysis.
So, yeah, that was quite amazing, that last bit, because, they say, well, where's the curve? Well, there you drew a tangent line at a certain elevation, and you could see where it met in the middle of the bridge, and at the other ends, it was higher up. And that's over 36 kilometers, I think, from memory, which is, a long distance. And you can see how much little curve there was in a long distance, and spread that out to, a radius of what is it? It's 4,000 kilometers, something like that.
63, yeah, 6,300.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I'm confusing miles and things. Yeah, 3,595, I think it is in miles. Use metric. It makes it easier for everything. Anyway, and you do mostly. So compare that, it's something like 100 times more for the entire Earth. So you can see how little it was. So of course you're not going to see it if you're on it, because it's not that big, and you've got hills and topography and things like that. You need to have a tool to help you see it. But that's another thing they get in their mind. Oh, my eyes are perfectly good to be able to see it. I should be able to see if it's there. Well, no, it's too small for your eyes to perceive and for your brain to perceive.
That's right. That is exactly right.
Yeah.
It was quite amusing yesterday listening to Bev and company try to pick that Google Earth thing apart. Oh, man. Bev didn't understand what the grid lines were. Apparently, he's never heard of latitude and longitude. He concluded that those numbers were northings and eastings.
What?
Yeah. No, I'm not kidding. I'm still trying to figure out how you have a west easting. Oh my goodness. It's too funny. It is too funny.
It's if you don't know what you're talking about, just make shit up. That's the mantra of a flat earther, isn't it?
That's what they do.
But the thing is, they don't seem to understand that it's really obvious to everyone else. That's the amazing bit. We can see you making shit up, so shut up. We know you don't know what you're talking about. But they say, well, I do know what I'm talking about. You just prove you didn't. Anyway,
this is the sort of analytical data analytical analysis that it defies fiddling with. I can't do anything to it. The data is the data. All I can do is look at it and analyze it. I can't change it. And that's what it shows. As much as that hurts their feelings, I'm sorry. This really is where we live, what you see on the screen right now.
And in this video, I think you came up with 3 different ways using the same data of confirming that it's a curve.
Yeah.
So, it's, I think it was more than 3, actually. It might have been 5. Either way, if the data is telling you in different ways the same thing, you've got to go with what the data tells you. You just can't choose what you want to know. I think Judy Bassett. Sorry, you go.
That was my training. You go with what the data tells you.
Yes, definitely. Judy Bassett says, "Did Bev say longitude is time?" Yes, he did.
Oh yes,
Saw
he
that.
did. Absolutely.
He seemed very confused by it.
He's got celestial navigation mixed up somehow or the other.
It's when you see him sort of struggling with these concepts, you think, how are you a functioning human being? You know, this should be easy to figure out.
What the hell did they? Even more curious. What the hell did they teach this guy when he took that surveying course?
Yeah, I think he.
You mean you actually took a surveying course and you don't know what longitude and latitude is? Huh?
You're an adult and you don't know what longitude and latitude is.
Really?
I mean, you know, everyone knows what. Surely everyone's had that much education. Even Brian, who left school early, knows that. I think, at least. Then again, he maybe in his case, maybe not. But it seems to be common knowledge what longitude and latitude is. So you think someone who's trained as a surveyor would actually know what it was, but why it's there.
Yeah, you would think.
Yes. Oh well. Dora asks, how many hours of latitude are you away from Greenwich again, Hugh? How many hours? Time zone is not quite the same thing. We're GMT plus 10 here, so if that's what you're asking. But in I think I'm 151 east in longitude. So that's Bev's hours. So yeah. What's your longitude where you are?
I'm about I think 85 west.
Right. So you're
Something like that.
You're 50 degrees sort of around the curve towards me again.
Yeah.
From being halfway around the world. So yeah. 50 degrees is a fair bit though, you know.
Yeah, I'm GMT minus 5.
That'd be 300 nautical miles away from exactly the other side of the world from me.
It's not too far.
We can figure these things out when you know what you're talking about.
You actually can.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And we don't have to make it up.
No.
We can go out into the real world and check it for ourselves, just as Jesse did. So.
Oh, and he's done other work too. I think I'm going to do more of these sorts of videos. Go back and pull up some of that old some of the older observations and go back through them again. I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, because the data doesn't go out of date; it's still data.
Right.
And I think you've done basically the definitive video on Lake Pontchartrain. That certainly, with your data analysis to Jesse's data, that definitely shows that Lake Pontchartrain shows a curve, and FLIRFs can't really deny it. They have to get better data to prove that you're wrong, and they're not going to get that, are they?
Well, I'll tell you too that you can actually thank Bev for this. I don't think I would ever have thought to do this until Bev and his crowd pulled up the old video from 2 or 3 years ago when Soundly and Jesse went through all of it. They did about a 2-hour live stream or hour and a half live stream presenting the same stuff. And Bev turned it into a 3-hour disaster with his crowd, 3.5 hours. Just completely screwing up everything they could. And some of the stuff he did absolutely infuriated me. I mean, there you got Bev basically waving around a high school report card claiming I'm a surveyor, and Jesse is a registered professional land surveyor.
Of many years' experience.
And Bev has the temerity to question Jesse's credentials. I said, that's it. That is not going to stand. We're just not going to have that.
Yeah.
And let's go back and revisit this.
That's the thing that really drives most debunkers, is that these guys who are obvious idiots, and they demonstrate it over and over again, they have no idea what they're talking about, presume to tell people who are experts in the field and with many years experience that they're wrong. How can they possibly even know that they're wrong?
I agree.
To go and tell them that, it's just astonishing. But as PhD Tony says, they can't tell that because they just haven't learned enough to know that they're wrong. They're so wrong that they don't even know they're wrong.
Sometimes they're so wrong they're not even wrong. They're so far off in some other area and they're not even wrong anymore.
Yeah, you just get these strange comments back and you think, how is that an answer to the question? When that you can tell that's when cognitive dissonance comes straight in. They just throw anything at you, or they block you, or they just shout at you or something,
Yeah.
They're all narcissists anyway, so
for the most part, I think so.
Yeah, it's all about them, and they just don't really care about anyone else or what they've got to say, no matter how objective it might be and how much it teaches them about reality.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got through your video. It took twice as long as the video itself for us to get through it, which is great. The whole idea was to talk about it and expand on the ideas a bit. So I might let you get on with your day and I can head off to bed.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. But I thought I might. So do you have any other thoughts you want to give to people that you might have forgotten to put in the video or want to expand on based on what we talked about tonight?
Well, just basically wanted to, I want to thank you for inviting me on, Hugh. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to talk about this. Not my video, to talk about this this marvelous set of data that these guys collected, and talk about what it actually shows us. And I don't think we ought to lose track of this and get buried in more and more of these damned arguments over some fuzzy, out of focus photograph made on a day when the atmosphere is completely screwed up. And that's all they like to argue about. Take this. There's no atmosphere involved here. There's no refraction involved in any of this. Yep. This is the real thing. And
it's not optical.
There's nothing optical about it. And there are no opinions involved.
Yeah, it's objective data. I don't think FLIRFs understand what objective actually means.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And as for having you on, I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. I think we tried to do something over a year ago, but it just didn't work out. And you were really busy at the time, I think, with Cavendish. And so I'm really pleased to have you on. It's been too long I've been wanting to have you on for a long time, and we finally done it. I'm hoping we can do it again sometime soon.
Oh, yeah, me too. You really.
Yeah, I have to get you out of bed early, though. That's the way the time zones work out,
okay.
Unfortunately.
That's okay. I've got lots of good buddies that live in your part of the world. Terry Davies does his show a couple of days a week, like Wednesday mornings, or for me, Wednesday night for you, Saturday night for you. So I talked to a few of those guys on those occasions. And it's always, 5:30 or 6 o'clock a.m., for me, but that's fine. I'm used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, then. Well, but I do know you get up very late as well. We'll stay up very late. You were up at 2 a.m. the other day.
Oh, yeah, I do that. Well, being old and retired affords you the opportunity to sleep whenever you want to. Except when you really want to, and then you can't sleep, and so you're up.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah. And I imagine you're the sort of guy who has lots of projects on all the time. So
I try to keep some things going.
Keeps you busy. Barry On said people used to go to asylums to see the crazy people. Now the crazy people come to us.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah. And that's the thing I was going to say. Bev was your inspiration, you might say, for this video, but they always are. What flat earthers, another thing they don't understand amongst the many, many things I've mentioned tonight and things I haven't mentioned, they don't understand that if they shut up, we go away. That they keep putting out this derp, and that gives us a reason to make a video and laugh at them. So, but they should go and read a book, learn how things work in the world, do their own experiments, and realize that they're wrong. And then we wouldn't have a video anymore. We wouldn't have anything to talk to them about anymore.
That is true. That is true.
Yes, I must be getting tired. I couldn't words. It comes out eventually. Anyway, all right. So thank you very much. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thank you especially to you, Blue, though. Once again, I'm really pleased to have you on, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Great to
and
be
I
here.
guess, no, it's great. Like I said, it's a wonderful, it's a thrill for me, really. So let me click the right thing. So I think that's everything done.
There's nothing left to do, but there's nothing left to do. The corgi, cue the corgi.
You're despicable.
Oh, he's so scary.
All right. Yeah.